everybody, and welcome back to the Basement Show with Mr. Ness. We aren't supposed to be here tonight, but we're going to do a Sports Gladiator show anyway. To my right, on the top row, is Mr. Ron, and down in the center of
Yes.
attention, we have a special guest for tonight. Ron's son, Jason, has joined the show. So, welcome in, gentlemen. Merry Christmas. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday. So,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
everybody.
Mike Russo might be joining us in a little bit. We will wait and see. Mike, if you're watching, I hope you're feeling better.
And here's one for
Master Chief, as always. We salute Master Chief every
Master
time.
Chief, even though he's not here. To throw the salute out there.
So it was a very interesting, wild Christmas weekend in sports. So I don't know where you guys would like to begin, but the floor is yours.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess normally we start off with the Eagles, but we'll go in a little different direction today since the most recent news this morning about the demise of Nathaniel Hackett as head coach of the Denver Broncos. Pretty big surprise. Well, surprised but not surprised. Kind of surprised that it happened now, but after that drubbing on this past weekend, I guess they pretty much had to pull the trigger. What do you guys think on that?
I think it was a long time coming because that team is built. They have pieces in Denver, and they have a defense. I mean, they were supposed to be a very good team with bringing in Wilson. Not that he helped much, but they were supposed to be a good team. They have Sutton, they have Jerry Jeudy, they have a decent running back. I mean, that team was supposed to be a playoff team.
Yeah, I completely agree. They had a piece like Russell Wilson as your starting quarterback, but the pieces that you have and how good Denver does in the draft, finding running backs or finding receivers, like that team was supposed to be right up there with like the Kansas City Chiefs competing for that division, but they fell flat.
The whole reason they got Russ is because they thought they had pieces around him to win, and apparently that coach was not able to use them to where they can win.
What percentage of the problems there in Denver that Russ is having go back to Hackett in his system?
I mean, I guess you could go 50-50. I mean, Russell, first year in a new system, you figure spent his whole entire career in Seattle with Pete Carroll. Now you're going to a brand new system, learning from a new coach who's never really been a head coach, who the first 4 games of the year were averaged 6 or 7 delay of game penalties because he doesn't know how to work his time management. So I wouldn't put it all on Russ, but I wouldn't put it all on the coach. I would think it's 50-50.
Yeah,
I think Russ is more used to being free to do what he wants. He's not a pocket passer. He's not sit in a pocket and wait for people to get open. And that's what he's been doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
So now you got that vacancy going on. I'm sure they have somebody to fill in the interim for the last 2 games, but I didn't see specifically who they gave the reins to. But let's talk about who might replace him, guys. I know that the 2 main candidates that they have a list, well, at least an assumed list of about 4 or 5 guys. And I think the 2 guys on the top of the list are the Cowboys defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, and the Dolphins passing coordinator, Darrell Bevell. And the reason for that is both of them have experience with Russell Wilson. So I think that it's going to, knowing that they're kind of saddled with Russell now for a while based on the way they constructed that contract, they need to make sure that they're bringing in somebody who's going to be able to get Russ back on track. And I think those 2 individuals have a familiarity with them that may benefit them by going in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what direction you want to go because now the pool is open. Do you want to bring in an offensive minded coach, or do you want to do what Denver normally does, and that's bring in a defensive minded coach to strengthen their defense? So it could go either way. I mean, both like you said, both coaches know Russell Wilson and know what to get out of him. So
Yeah.
it depends on if you want to go offensively or defensively at this point.
I
Yeah.
mean, Dan Quinn has a record as a head coach, and I don't believe is very good in his favor. But I still put Sean Payton out there for any job right now because he said he wanted to coach again.
But I
Yeah.
think we talked about this before, John. I think that we said that Peyton pretty much is going to be able to write his own ticket. I mean,
Yeah.
he's going to pick where he wants to go, and that's where he's going to go. And I think the two jobs that he's mentioned in interviews were the Chargers and the Cowboys.
Well, I also heard Carolina or Arizona. So
Right. And every time there's an opening, they're going to throw his name out there. But I think he pretty much is going to just choose where he thinks it benefits him the most. Solid quarterback, plenty of draft capital, a good foundation to build on because he's not going to be able to spend 5 years building a program. He wants to be able to go in, tweak it, and go right into playoff contention.
yeah, definitely. And to answer your question, the Denver Broncos named senior assistant Jerry Roseberg as their interim head coach.
Oh, okay.
So he's been, it just says for the remainder. I don't know how long has he been with the Broncos or what. I'm pulling that up now. He's a long-time special teams coordinator.
Oh boy. So he split the middle, not an offensive or a defensive guy.
Nope. He joined the Broncos from week 2. Hold on, my computer's loading real quick. And he assistant with Denver's game day management operation. But he was a special teams coordinator for 11 years with Baltimore. So very interesting to see that.
He's a guy that's just holding the rudder for 2 weeks. That's all he is.
Yeah. Say almost like a Jeff Saturday.
The coordinators will just run the program just like, exactly like Jeff Saturday.
But yeah, I mean, there's nothing really special to him. But he just helped guide the Ravens to finish in top 5 finishes in the league special teams rankings. But like you said, Ron, that's just a door holder right now.
Yep.
As much as I hate to point out something good about the Cowboys, but I'm surprised Kellen Moore doesn't have more talk about being a head coach.
He had some interviews, but apparently he didn't fare very well. I know he interviewed last year at least to one position, if not 2, that I recall. I just can't remember what the teams were, but
Well, the one that I heard a front runner for last year, believe it or not, was Boise State.
Okay.
Because Automado wanted him to go back to college and run the program, but I think he turned that down and took a boatload of money from Jerry to stay in Dallas.
yeah.
He's probably one of the highest paid offensive coordinators, I think, this year. So
Yeah. Which, when Jerry Jones finally pulls the trigger on McCarthy, if they make another early exit this year, McCarthy's probably done.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you have that base, like a good talent on that team, offensively and defensively, and you go one and done. Like Jerry's not going to sit with that.
No.
He wants to win, and he wants to win now. So,
And I think Mike McCarthy's wearing out his welcome. Just seems to me.
possible, never know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's a good segue into the Eagles this week.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about it, sure.
Hey, well, I don't necessarily want to talk about it, but I guess we gotta.
Yeah, we always talk about it. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, good and bad. Plain and simple. It was a back and forth game. I think it was competitive on both sides. It all came down to protecting the ball. I mean, the the two games that we've lost this year, that the Eagles have lost this year, they lost because of turnovers.
Yep.
Flat out. You know, they just it just didn't protect it when it counted. I think Minshew was serviceable. I mean, he just loves throwing across the middle, though. I mean, Jalen, as a practice, works the outside of the field a lot, but and then does some slants. Minshew just is throwing 3/4 of his passes right into traffic. So it's you're almost tempting fate there.
I'm sure that a lot of that was because he doesn't know a lot of the plays, so they dumbed it down for him for the first week at least. You'll probably see him throw more outside this week.
See, I would agree
Minshew
with that,
has an arm.
I would agree, but I would disagree with that because he's been in the system for 2 years, the same amount of time as Shane Steichen and Jalen Hurts have been running the same offense. I just think they're two different quarterbacks. You see, Hurts is more of that mobile on the go type quarterback, where Minshew gives you that pure pocket quarterback. And a pocket quarterback reads technically more over the middle than a mobile quarterback because a mobile quarterback tends to roll out and scramble more. So you see more of an outside the numbers type game.
I totally agree with that.
By his past, he likes throwing down the field. I'm not sure why he was not, but his history, he's very he goes down the field a lot. He throws deep a lot. Minshew, even in Jacksonville, he was always throwing deep.
Yeah. I mean, I give credit to Dallas though because it's a very underrated secondary. Like Trayvon Diggs is good and Jordan Love, like they have that secondary that they could play two safeties deep and play man coverage. But like our big wide receivers both still had over 100 yards, so like they were dinking dunk passes, but Brown and Smith both had big games. And then you welcome back Dallas Goedert, who only had 3 catches for 67, but there were some pretty nice catches and then running after the catch, which you have missed from that tight end position for the last 4 weeks. So to have that back is a very key asset going forward.
And that'll be even more big when Jalen's back because Jalen is very much targets Dallas a lot, when he's on the move. So,
I agree.
But the 3rd and 30. Let's talk about that. I mean, obviously the play to turn the game, I would say.
One of the plays that turned the game.
One. Well, Sanders fumble.
Well, I mean, that's the same drive.
Yeah.
They caused a fumble on Prescott, and you almost were damn sure Billy had recovered it, but they gave it back to Dallas.
Yeah.
That same exact drive.
Yeah. But the 3rd and 30 to T.Y. Hilton for 56 yards?
Yep.
Should have never been. I mean, Slay, everybody's blaming Slay.
It was a rookie mistake. Blankenship blew the coverage on the back end.
No, actually, it was Kaiser White, who was the safety that was supposed to pick him up after Slay dropped off in the cover, too.
Kaiser White's a linebacker. He's a Mike Lane linebacker.
Right, but he was out in the play somewhere. I saw him.
The problem is they probably played that fence defense where they back off 10, 15 yards to protect the 6 and they got burned.
Yeah.
I've never liked that prevent defense stuff.
So,
like I said last week.
I saw an interview with, I think it was Slay. He said that Gannon gives them the option to play press or to play off. There's never a set coverage that they play. They have the option of what they want to play according to who they're up against.
It's true.
Okay, well, I'm going to be the coach right now. I'm going to set the play. Don't give up 3rd and 30.
Yeah.
How about that?
No,
I could be coach of the year.
I mean, even if he doesn't make that catch, though, Josiah Scott tackled him. If he doesn't make that catch, they're throwing a flag.
Yeah.
And Dallas gets the first down regardless. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's true. So now we got some injuries to deal with. We got Lane Johnson out now for the rest of the regular season with a torn tendon in his abdomen, which obviously was probably a partial tear in the last couple weeks when he's been having discomfort, but now he just tore it completely.
Yeah.
So, but they're still saying there's a possibility he could be back for the playoffs.
So what are you doing in that situation? Are you moving Mailata to right tackle and then
No.
have Dillard play left tackle?
No.
Or are you just rolling with Driscoll?
I think you roll with Driscoll. What do you think, John?
No, I think you have to roll with Driscoll because the chopping my ladder over, you're just going to throw off his techniques, and then we have to move him back to the left side. It's just going to be a nightmare.
I mean, he's already having footwork problems. If you switch from back and forth, he could be even worse.
I mean, there was a couple plays he got beat by Parsons pretty bad on Saturday.
I mean, if you're going to get beat by somebody, I guess you getting beat by Parsons in comparison is not as bad as getting beat by some of these other tomato cans. But
yeah, I mean, I do give Dallas credit for that late in the game. The third and fourth down, their front four was all pass rushers. These guys were meant to get up the field. So to throw them in four in a line like that, like as an offensive line coach, how do you coach your players on the fly to protect something like that?
yeah,
I mean, New York started it with what they call the Joko defense, but still, you have a run stop in the middle, but then you have your pass rushers on the one side. Dallas loaded the box up with them. There's no way to protect that.
yeah.
So as much as you want to get mad, like you really can't. I mean, Minshew almost don't completed the pass. I think if AJ Brown looks up, the ball is right in his hands.
Yeah.
So
I guess there's a bunch of plays you can point back to and say, if we only had that one back, but I'll tell you, it was a hard fought back and forth game. Got to give them the props. They pulled it out, but I think we lost it more than they won it.
no, I can agree with that.
Because we don't turn the ball over like that. We don't have 4 turnovers. We've done it twice this year and lost both games.
Yep.
I am about done with this Quez Watkins experiment. Like last week, they ran the ball with him instead of Miles Sanders for the first 24 minutes of the game, and then this week throwing the ball to him, and he has no control of the ball when he's in the air, and they just take it right from him.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has to get more upper body strength, I guess you can say, if that's what you expect out of him. I don't see him as that over the middle type wide receiver. I see him as a 9-and-go type receiver because he does have good speed.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't run that 9-and-go in the slot. You run that more on the outside of the numbers. And someone like Devontae Smith, he's proven that he can play anywhere. Like the kid's balling right now. Like he had 8 catches, 113 yards on Saturday, which is a pretty good secondary. And then AJ Brown had 6 catches for 103. So your top 2 doing their part. Now you just got to find that middle guy that will help you out.
Well, with having Goddard back, there's no reason to have Quez Watkins running across the middle of the field.
I agree.
That's not what he was brought here for, and that's not the way they should be using him right now.
No, I completely agree here.
So,
Like if you ask me, a perfect example of a good slot receiver Philly used to have was Jason Avant.
yeah.
He was short-handed. He could make those first down catches when you needed him to. He knew his job.
The
Right now,
trampoline guy.
Yeah, right now Quez is in his own role thinking that he has to make every home run play when he really doesn't.
Yeah.
I just see his usage going up, and he's just causing more problems than, this experiment is worth, because the last 2 or 3 weeks he's been used quite a lot, and he's fumbled, he's gave up picks. I don't understand why you have 2,000-yard receivers on the outside and you're throwing to Quez 8 times a game.
Huh?
Well,
Good
you'll
point.
find that receivers that get the ball yanked out of their hands like that on a regular basis don't last long in the NFL anymore.
Yeah, no,
Well,
you were right about that, sir.
Yeah.
Because then why would you bring in someone like Zach Pascal if you're barely going to use him? So
he's perfectly fine in the slot. Pascal is, and they keep on throwing this guy out there, and he's good for some things when he can outrun the corner, but going through the middle, why did you sign Pascal?
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. What's another game we want to talk about today?
Well, let's see. Yeah, that another Tom Brady comeback late last night. I don't know if you guys stayed up and watched that game. I mean, as
Yeah.
much as I hate Tom Brady, to lead a hopeless team back from 10 points down on the road. Granted, Arizona's on their third string quarterback, but
Yeah, but Brady just keeps on finding a way. I mean, it's I'm not a big fan of the guy. I mean, but you got to give him his props.
yeah,
He's got a team, for lack of a better term, a ragtag team. That's just, it doesn't have the shine it had before, but he's still finding a way in these fourth quarter situations.
Is it the team or is it the coaching staff that he has now?
I say it was more coaching staff right now because Ty Bowles isn't really an NFL head coach, and Byron Leftwich is not an offensive coordinator.
I mean, Byron Leftwich looked a lot better last year under
Bruce Arians.
Bruce Arians, but now Byron Leftwich isn't really a good offensive coordinator because I guess different leadership.
Yeah, possible.
Hey Ken, how you doing? With all the injuries, why didn't the Eagles go after Josh
Norman.
Norman.
He signed with the Carolina Panthers today.
Did he?
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know that they're gonna look to sign somebody right now. I think that they're gonna ride for the most part with what they got.
Hello, Uncle.
Hey Ken. Hey Dave, how you doing, man? Dave's a friend of the show.
I've seen Dave Clayton before. He's been in and out. So
yeah, he's our guy that has his own show, political show.
That's right. I do remember that.
He works for me.
Gotcha. But no, I just think it's like you were saying, Jason. It's a whole different type of format now that you have a defensive minded head coach, where before Bruce Arians was more of your offensive minded coach. So now that Arians is out and Bowles is in, Bowles might be focusing more on the defensive side of the ball, and then Byron Leftwich has now been elevated to take over the offense basically solely by himself.
Yeah, well, maybe Arians was having more influence with him, and they were making joint decisions.
Yeah, that is possible. Yes.
Where now he's flying solo.
And I mean, just like Dan Quinn, Bowles isn't a proven good coach. I mean, he didn't have that many good years, at least in my memory.
No, I'd say Bowles is more of a college coach. I mean, he had 1 or 2 good years with the Jets when he had the solid defense with Darrelle Revis and all that. But he's been more of that defensive-minded coordinator type coach. So who knows? He could be another one on the way out if they want to bring in somebody who's more established as that head coach. So
that's very possible.
Because when you're a leading wide receiver with Leonard Fournette with 9 catches for 90 yards, that just shows you that you're not running the routes you should with your all-pro receiver like Mike Evans.
All checkdowns.
Yeah.
Because
Evans only had 3 catches for 29 yards last night. Godwin had 8 for 63. These are your big money guys, especially Evans, and he's not even getting the ball more than 4 or 5 times a game in the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Well, I mean, as part of that too is that Brady's not getting a lot of time. I mean, his the offensive line hasn't really been performing well this year. for him.
Yeah, well, that all started in the preseason when they lost Ryan Jensen for the year.
Yeah.
Losing your all-pro center, your go-to guy, and then Tristan Wirfs and Donovan Smith both have been injured a lot lately. So, like, you're sitting on second-string tackles. Like, it's going to catch up to you.
Yeah.
So,
I definitely see either Tampa getting rid of Bowles or Brady exploring playing somewhere else.
Well,
I wouldn't be surprised to see Brady want to try to go 1 year with San Fran. But again, why would you when you got people like Trey Lance and Brock Purdy and you're able to lead the ship? It kind of sounds like my Raiders head coach and defensive coordinator. Yeah, well,
I don't even know what's wrong with the Raiders. I have no insight on what's wrong with the Raiders.
2 words.
All I
Josh
know
McDaniels.
is all I know is Derek Carr destroyed my fantasy team half of the year.
Should have been like me and dropped him then.
you didn't need him this week.
No, Kirk Cousins did the job for me.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the biggest problem with the Raiders is the first-time head coach and Josh McDaniels. So now that just you ask yourself, is McDaniels more of a product of Belichick's system? He's a lifetime assistant coach and now branching out on his own and struggling, or does it fall on a defensive coordinator? It's like, what way you go?
I mean, I think when it comes to the Raiders, unfortunately, I just think that the whole organization is in disarray. I think that they just need somebody to steady the ship there because it just seems like on all fronts, they just seem to be a hot mess. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take. If it's going to have to take bringing in some really strong, organizational type coach like a Sean Payton or or bringing Gruden back or some. I know Gruden's not coming back, but I mean, I'm just saying it's going to take that kind of a guy to get that organization back on track again.
Yeah.
A lot of the problems with the Raiders is they lose in their trenches on both sides of the ball. Their offensive line isn't great, and their defensive line is pretty bad too. I think that's what makes the Eagles really good. That's what makes all the teams really good. If you look at Kansas City, they have top 5 offensive line, and they have very good edge rush. I mean, the trenches is where the games are won.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. They say that's where you win games. You win games in the trenches. So
yeah. And it's a proven point. Look at Philly this year. They got 3 defensive linemen right now with 10 or more sacks.
Yep.
First time they've done that since the early 90s.
Yep.
How about that pick 6 by Josh Sweat?
Yeah.
Now, that's just a good awareness play. Like, there was plenty of chances to pick Dak off on Saturday. Philly just didn't take advantage of it.
Yep.
But
I agree with you there.
I kind of feel bad for I mean, the Raiders are one of the most well-known franchises in NFL history. In the last couple of years, have just taken a nosedive. If you want my honest opinion, I think that started when Al Davis died.
Yeah, absolutely.
Al Davis was a no bullshit type of guy. Mm-hmm. He passed it away. Now his son Mark takes over, and like it seems like Mark just wants to party.
Yeah, why else would you move the team to Vegas?
Right? Now you're telling me if Al Davis was still alive, that team moves to Las Vegas. No way.
No, it does not. He makes them build him a new stadium in Oakland.
Yeah. I mean, granted, they got fans there, but it's not the same crazy fans that followed them all those years in Oakland.
And that's probably half the issue. I mean, they just did. It's a storied franchise. It's one of those, legendary franchises that everybody knew. When you said the Raiders, there was always somebody in the crowd that said, "Yeah, I like the Raiders." Even though sometimes it was just because the hat was cool, or the jacket was cool. But, I'm a badass because I'm a Raiders fan,
Yeah, well,
and they kind of lost that when they went to Vegas. They didn't have that mystique to them anymore.
no, sure they keep the same color scheme and all that, but like Las
Yeah.
Vegas Raiders compared to Oakland Raiders, like, oh,
Yeah.
like what team do you root for? Las Vegas. Oh, who's that? Like a lot of people don't know they're still out there. They say, oh, I like the Oakland Raiders. Like, oh, Marcus Allen back in the day. John Madden was a great head coach. Like Al Davis.
Jim Otto is going to come and knock my head off my shoulders.
Or Jack Casper.
Crazy eyes. Yeah. That's the
So-
thing. They just lost the edge, and they got to find it. They got to get it back.
And also the problem with the Raiders too, like I'll use the offensive line as an example. They what was it? Either last year or the year before they drafted a kid Alex Leatherwood, like 17th or 18th overall. He was projected a 4th round pick. Oakland needs to draft better too. And they don't develop their players long enough, they let them all go.
Yeah.
So
They had drafted a good wide receiver, but then he got a DUI and killed someone, and he was out of the league in, I think, his rookie year or second year.
yeah, Henry Ruggs. Yeah, and he'll never play football ever again.
Nope.
That's another good perfect example. Like everyone who gets drafted by the Raiders, you might as well change your name to the Convicts. Well, get arrested or something like that. So
I'm sorry. We have trademarked that. Thank you. That's a Miami Hurricane trademark.
Yeah, well,
We are the convicts.
if I'm Mark Davis, I'm calling to Miami and see how much it worth to get the name for Las Vegas. Dallas Cowboys were the same way for many years. All the people they brought in were always getting in trouble.
Yeah.
So, but
I remember two epic Oakland draft fails. One was Jamarcus Russell. That was
gosh.
horrible.
Yeah.
And then the Henry Ruggs, of course. But
Yeah.
Jamarcus Russell was pretty bad.
Yeah. That had to be one of the biggest ones of all time.
Oh, Russell would always be known as the biggest NFL draft bust.
Or
Especially
Ryan
because
Leaf. Ryan Leaf was another one.
Ryan Leaf's a head talk.
That was only because of who he was drafted before. That's why he came up as a bust.
Well, you could say the same thing about Tim Couch and Achille Smith then. Because
Yeah.
right in the middle of that, you have Donovan McNabb. Tim Couch never really panned out, and Achille Smith maybe played, 4 years with Cincinnati, and that was it. Other was another one, yeah.
Ken said we don't talk. Raiders fan says we don't talk about that.
Or here's a wide receiver for you, Jay. Darius Hayward Bay.
Mm-hmm.
The speedster
Okay.
out of Maryland. They take him like 7th or 8th overall. He has 2 good years, and then he falls out off the face of the earth.
Didn't he kind of rejuvenate himself when he went to Pittsburgh?
Maybe
Was it
for a
Pittsburgh?
year. Not much.
Yeah, he had a year or two, I think, where he did decent.
Yeah, but not where he was supposed to be drafted. I'll put it to you that way.
Right. Yeah, he didn't live up to his expectations.
No way.
Let's say
I
that.
want to play a game. All right, about Eagles matchups. So, do you think the Eagles match up with the San Francisco 49ers?
John, you first.
I mean, they would definitely have a good test. I absolutely love what San Fran's defense is doing right now. San Fran's defense is top tier, one of the most scary defenses in the whole entire league. If, like Ken said, if the Eagles can get back healthy, absolutely, they can compete with anybody. But going in with the team they have right now, it'd be a very tough matchup.
Okay. I'll kind of go the same direction for the most part. I think that Jalen versus the San Francisco secondary, I think that he may have some opportunities. I think that in the trenches, like we talked about, I think Philly has a better offensive line. I think that on the defensive side of the ball, I think it's real close. But I think that there's talent on both sides, and I think that it would be a very, very close matchup no matter how you sliced it.
I think it would be very close as long as Lane Johnson is there.
Right. Yeah. If given that everybody's healthy.
Yeah, if you're gonna have Lane Johnson versus a Nick Bosa, that's your premier matchup on that offensive and defensive line. If not, Bosa would just eat Driscoll alive.
Yeah.
How about let's go with, we already know what happened with the Vikings. We know the Cowboys. We know the Giants. How about we go to AFC? How about the Bengals?
I mean, the Bengals are an up and down team for sure. Like your dad was saying, like Joe Burrows do want an exploded game, and I think that would come against a defense like Philly because they can get pressure upfield, but then they can hold off to you on the back end. And if you shut down Chase, I mean Higgins and Boyd can step up, sure, but they don't give you that dynamic game changer ability like a Jamal Chase does.
Yeah.
We don't like talking about the Vikings, Ken, because they put a skirt on Rocky.
No, the Vikings shot themselves in the foot back in 2018 trying to diss our city. That's why what NFC Championship game happened the way it did because they thought they were going to come in and kick our ass. Well, you want to put writing on the chalkboard, you see what happens.
Yep. I agree with you there. Now they're in a little bit of better position this year to talk smack because they only have 3 losses. But if you look at how those wins came about, and you look at how many of them, the Vikings victories are 1-score victories. You know, in a tight game, you know, they found a way to win. But when you get to the playoffs, you know, everybody's 0-0. You know, and I don't think, personally, me speaking, I think if Minnesota had to come into Philly, I think Minnesota's got no prayer against Philly.
They've
Philly.
showed the last 3 weeks that they can get beaten. Go ahead, Ken. Sure. Ken wants to ask a question.
Absolutely, Ken.
That's part of the show. We want people to interact and ask questions for us. So, unless it said, "How about them Cowboys?" I'm not answering that. But
yeah, no, that was our guy last week.
I know. I mean, I could probably share him with Jackson if you want me to. Yeah, I'll pull it up with. Who do you think Who do you think are the underdogs this year?
Detroit Lions.
That's a good pick.
I still think they make the playoffs, and I think that they're a team that nobody wants to play.
I have one.
Tampa Bay, for that matter. And with the record they've got, nobody wants to play them. True. And they got to be considered the underdogs, leading their division at what, 7-7?
Yeah.
I have one. The Jacksonville Jaguars.
Stole my answer. Go ahead. I want to hear yours first.
Okay. Yep.
The Jaguars have a quarterback that has all the intangibles you need in a quarterback, and it's starting to come to life with the quarterback whisperer in Jacksonville.
Yes. We talked about that last week, and I absolutely 1,000% agree with you.
Yeah.
Doug Peterson's been the difference with Trevor Lawrence.
And I don't know if you guys pay attention, but they have drafted extremely well, and they have a lot of young kids on that team that are pretty good players, and they're still very young. They've had top 5 picks in 5 years in a row?
Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
No, you, like I said, you stole my pick. I thought for sure I'd be able to go on a rant about Jacksonville.
Yep.
But if you want me to go outside the box, I'm going to get crucified being a Philly fan. But if I'm afraid right now, I'm afraid of New York Giants because they're a sneaky, very good team. Saquon's healthier than he's ever been. He's running the ball like crazy. Daniel Jones is making the plays when he has to, and they got a good young edge rusher in Thibodeau from Oregon.
Right.
And then he's going up against Evan Neal, who is their other first round pick this year, every day in practice. So those two are just meshing and gelling, helping each other out. So if I had to pick another team, I'd say watch out for the Giants. They could turn on the switch in the blink of an eye. So
I'll give you that to an extent.
I like I said, I'm gonna get yelled at. Please don't yell at me too bad, but
Well, just remember Daniel Jones.
yeah, that's a downfall, but there's also an upside because yes, he does turn the ball over, but two, he can make plays with his legs.
This is true.
Besides for Hurts and stuff like that, if you look at the NFC quarterbacks, there's not really a mobile quarterback other than Hurts and Daniel Jones. Prescott, sure, he can run if he has to. Kirk Cousins is your pure pocket quarterback. Purdy, still unproven. Brady, forget about it. And then Washington with their quarterback mess, you don't know.
Yeah.
Seattle has Geno Smith. If they get in, he can go both ways. Jared Goff for Detroit, pure pocket quarterback. So,
yeah.
Would you say Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFC right now?
in the NFC,
Yes,
looking at the teams, yes, I would.
I do. I think all around, if you had to look at all things, including the intangibles, I think that Jalen Hurts is probably the best quarterback in the NFC.
Yeah, I'm tangibles, yes. He's definitely progressed a lot. His ceiling has definitely risen this year more than people expected. But I would attribute the acquisition of AJ Brown to that too.
Absolutely.
You're bringing your childhood best friend to be your number one wide receiver, and you get numbers put up on this team that you haven't seen since Terrell Owens was on this team. It goes a very long way.
Yep. Well, it'd be kind of like the equivalent of if back then, if you had T.O. on one side and you had Chad Johnson on the other side. At that time.
Well, Shadow Chocinco.
Yeah.
Cincinnati's problem, though, was they had Carson Palmer at quarterback who couldn't stay healthy. Yeah. Now, fast forward 10, 15 years, you had someone like a Joe Burrow with those wide receivers. It's a whole different story. Cincinnati's the top tier AFC best team with having that offensive talent. Cincinnati's problem back then was Carson Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
So,
see, I will pick the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl in almost every scenario, but winning a Super Bowl, the top three in the AFC, they scare me. All three of them. Well, less Kansas City because they have no defense. So if your offense can keep up, you're okay with Kansas City. But the Bills and the Bengals, I don't see the Eagles having a chance.
Out of those three, I would say Buffalo would give the biggest threat. Offensively and defensively, Buffalo is built to win now. Kansas City has proven that they are a premier team, sure, but they've also have taken a step back because now their injuries are piling up on Kansas City as well. A team like Cincinnati is streaky. They can get hot and they can keep it going, but a streaky team hits that brick wall once in a while and then they fall back. Mm-hmm. Cincinnati almost gave up a 18-0 lead versus New England this weekend. So, again, they've showed that they can be beaten. So,
well, Buffalo's actually taken a step back offensively as well. I mean, we've talked about, the performance of Josh Allen since the elbow injury and, and the disappearance of Isaiah McKenzie, who through the whole beginning of the season was the wonder child and now has fell out of favor with the offense. And, so much so that they go out and reach out to a Cole Beasley and drag him out of retirement. I I think that Buffalo has a couple kinks in the armor as well on the offensive side of the ball. They do have a great defense, though. So
Yeah.
Josh Allen has been very he's been giving up a lot of turnovers this year. I'm not sure what's going on with him.
Because he's forcing the ball too much. The
And
game
I think
versus
he's still
Minnesota.
hurt.
Well, yeah, you're going to have a lingering elbow injury, sure. But the game versus Minnesota, it's 3rd and 8 on like the 20-something yard line. All you need is a field goal to tie that game. There's no reason to try to win the game on 3rd down.
Yeah.
So. But as a top
Hero
three team,
ball doesn't win every week.
No. But out of the 3 teams, I think Buffalo posed the biggest threat based off their defense.
I agree.
I agree.
So we all agree. Yay.
Yeah. Well, because if you think about it, right now, Buffalo would have home field advantage. And if you're like a team like Jacksonville or Baltimore, you're hoping that Buffalo loses one of these last 2 games and Kansas City overtakes them. Because who wants to go to northern New York in January? Nobody.
Yeah.
No one wants to go to Buffalo right now.
Yeah.
They have 6+ feet of snow.
Yeah, exactly. And that favors Buffalo because now they got the crowd into it. They got the home field advantage, and it's a whole different game.
Well, it's like all those years when Green Bay would get the number 1 seed. It'd be the same thing, you know. It'd be like, oh man, they got to go to the frozen tundra, you know. And the frozen tundra was Miami Beach compared to Buffalo.
I completely agree. Yeah, very true.
I want to talk some baseball.
I saw a video today from Buffalo where there was a snow plow that got stuck in the snow. So they had to take another snow plow and ram it into it in order to get it loose.
Jeez.
So it's like, you got to be kidding me. And I spent some time up that way. So I lived in Pittsburgh, but I had to travel to Buffalo a couple times a month. And that lake effect snow is no fun.
Nope. Another question from Ken. Do you guys think Aaron Rodgers retires? No.
No. I don't think so. I think even if he's not in Green Bay, which I can't imagine Green Bay getting away from him at this point, but even if he did, somebody would take a fly on him with the quarterback situation out there with some of these teams. And, you know, would it be pretty? You know, maybe not. I mean, you might run into one of these deals like, you know, Joe Montana at the end of his career or some of these other quarterbacks that were legends who hung on a little too long and they went to another team and just fell face first.
Tom Brady. Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah. There's always exceptions. There's always exceptions to the rule.
Brett Favre ruined his greatness by playing too long.
Yep. Agreed.
And Brady's starting to do the same thing.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And if Brady does land in, say, New England or someplace, you know, or wherever he decides he's going to finish up, because I really don't think he's finishing up in Tampa Bay.
No.
I think he's going to go somewhere to say, I'm going to prove one more time that I could do it with any team.
I could see Brady staying in Tampa, but I can guarantee you he'll be like Russell Wilson and get the coach fired because not the coach he wants.
Yeah.
Now, would you change the whole coaching staff or just the head coach?
Normally it all goes together.
I mean, Leftwich worked well for him his first however many years there, so I don't see why they would change the whole coaching staff.
I guess we shall see.
It's tough to bring in a head coach and say you can't pick your coordinators. That's the Doug Peterson rule.
Yeah, that is true. That's all right.
Yeah.
Now, Jason, you said you wanted to talk baseball. What's on your baseball mind?
So I am confused on what we should do with Rhys Hoskins.
Okay. What's your theory?
Because I feel like we could get the same production out of Derek Hall and get something for Reese.
I mean, you definitely make a good argument. Like, you could definitely get something for Reese in a sense, but what you would need to do is address your outfield. So that way you can take one of those outfielders and make him your designated hitter the first half of the season.
I
You're
mean,
not going to have Bryce Harper.
I would give up Reese for arm and utility outfielder to fill in for Bryce for the first 4 months of the season.
I don't think you'd get that much in return for someone like Reese. You might get your utility outfielder, but to add a picture to that, unless it's like a minor leaguer coming up, maybe, but
yeah,
not like an everyday starter that you're looking for.
Well, we did sign Craig Kimbrell.
Yeah,
this
which
week.
a lot of people want to bond about that one. So
I think I don't know, but the reason I say arm is because I'm not sure what's going on with Painter. Is he going to be locked into the rotation next year, or are they going to keep him in the minors, or what's going on with Painter?
I think he's the 5. I just think that they're not going to waste the window. At this point, they think they have a couple-year window, and now's an opportune time, and there's no time like the present, the way that he's performed, to bring Painter up and give him a shot.
yeah, 4
They
or
don't
5 for sure.
they don't benefit by holding him back. Not at this
'Cause-
point.
And now you have Wood, Noah. You just signed to John Walker. So then, you're looking for a 4 or 5.
Suarez.
Yeah, Suarez. We were discussing it.
Suarez is the 4, Painter's the 5.
Yeah, there you go. Your 2022-23 starting rotation.
Yeah. And then they just got to backfill a couple bullpen pieces. But I mean, are we really going to miss David Robertson? No, I would have drove him out of town myself.
Yeah. I think that's why you bring somebody in like Kimball. Granted, he is older. He can't be used every single day, but Craig Kimball can still give you those 8th, 9th innings when you need them.
Right, and he's still got a little velocity left. He might be a 7 inning or an 7th inning or an 8th inning guy. Who can come in there and give you maybe 3 or 4 outs.
Yeah. But do you want to be? All right. So then you stick with Sir Anthony Dominguez as your closer.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you have to.
So that's the biggest thing. Is like, do you still do that rotation of a closer by committee, or do you try to set a closer in like stone this year?
I think you got Alvarez still here, right?
Alvarado, Alvarez.
Alvarez.
Yeah.
The only one you really lost in the bullpen, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is Zach Eflin
And David Robertson.
and Robinson, but we can't really count him. But
yeah. So
I
think
the biggest thing with Eflin, why they let him go, because he wants to get back into the starting rotation. Phillies don't look at him as a starter.
And because of that, what he was going to make in arbitration, they weren't going to pay.
No way.
So they're not going to pay Zach Eflin the kind of money they would have had to pay to keep him.
I could agree with that.
So do you think the Phillies offense is going to be better when the no shift rule starts this year? I think it's going to help all of them actually with not being able to shift.
Well, the person it's going to help the most isn't playing until after the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Because this is going to increase Bryce Harper's productivity. Absolutely.
But I think as a whole, the MLB is going to be a lot better this year without having to shift. Because, Bryce Harper is the main reason for the shift, but there's other players out there who demand a shift. So you take that away from them, and you're going to see, I think, batting averages maybe go up 5 to 10%.
It also helps the guy we just signed, Trey Turner. He's going to enjoy that, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there are some good pictures left. I mean, I would have to look at the list.
Yeah.
To really see who's still available.
I don't know. Well, something weird today is now I understand that there could be a problem with the Korea trade with the Mets.
Oh, Carlos Correa.
Korea, I think not the trade, but the signing,
Well,
because they're trying to put in language to the contract because of this injury situation, the one that made the Giants back off. Now the Mets are all of a sudden having second thoughts, and they're trying to get language in the contract that says that if he has an injury to that particular area where he was injured before, that it cuts the contract and cuts the years. And Scott Boras wants no part of it. And baseball has to approve any guarantees in a contract. So there's a possibility that the commissioner's office gets involved in this at some point.
yeah. I mean, you got to do something because now this is what two teams that have given him a mega contract, and then at the 72nd hour, when they're getting ready to introduce this guy at a press conference, something comes up. So yeah, if I'm the Major League Baseball commissioner's office, I'm getting involved in this because there's something that's holding this contract from getting finalized that is holding like these deals up. Like, so they need to do something about it.
Yep.
The Mets payroll is like insane for potentially maybe a third place wild card team. They spent loads of money this offseason.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. Like you said, to finish in third in the division.
Yeah, because
Potentially.
they're banking on. Well, yeah, they're banking to go farther, but like, there's no way you could rely on Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer to be your number one and number two starters, and that's what they're banking on, giving each of these guys like $40+ million.
I think Verlander's going to be exposed.
I do too. Scherzer was exposed.
I think that once he has to be the guy in a market like New York, I think it's the amount of media pressure that he's going to face is going to be tough. Because in Houston, nobody cared.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the case in New York.
Nope. Yeah, right now they're the top two on your payroll, and they're both making $43.3 million this year.
Yep.
So between the two pitchers, with the average age of 39, because Scherzer's 38 and Verlander's 40, you're paying $86 million for those two starters.
That's
just
insane.
those two alone. I don't know if you ever heard of it, Jason. It's called Spot Track. It's SPOTRAC.com. You can pull up all contracts, everything, and just like look at it. If I could share the screen right now, I have the whole entire Mets payroll on my screen. But like you got Francis Lindor making 34.1, Marte's making 20, Nemo's making 18.5. The Japanese picture they just brought in is making 15. And that doesn't include Correa yet because that deal's not finalized. But you'd probably put him in right around $35 million a year.
I'm always, I don't know, it might just be me, but I think like the Phillies fail miserably on the international market. I mean, the one person they got from international market was Cesar Hernandez, and you know what he turned out to be. But I don't understand all these teams hit on these international players, and the Phillies never even explore that.
Nope.
That way.
And I don't think they ever will.
Yeah, they've never really had a very strong international scouting division.
No.
Because they just didn't, they didn't put a lot of stock in it. they were more about homegrown talent. But I mean,
Okay.
the other, if you want to go the conspiracy theory route, the very last team to integrate in Major League Baseball was the Philadelphia Phillies.
Well,
But that might be a stretch, but just throwing it out there.
yeah.
Just throwing it
So
out.
this is based off 5 starters right now. Okay, the Mets starting 5 pitchers this year combined salary is $128.6 million
That's
Wow,
insane.
that's
just for
crazy.
5 starting pitchers this year.
I think I saw their current roster as constructed was 860 some $1 million.
Hey, Gary, how you doing, man?
Gary, thanks for popping in, buddy.
Gary's in the house.
So I'm trying to think. Hold on. Let me scroll down for a second. Hold on. I'll tell you exactly what it is.
That's insane.
Okay, hold on. Here it is. Even without Carlos Correa signed or like whatever finalized, their total team salary right now is $272.2 million,
Wow.
and that doesn't even include Carlos Correa's contract yet.
Yep.
So the threshold tax wise, I think we were talking about it a couple weeks ago, is going to be about what, 50 million?
Yeah, I
At
don't
least.
remember the numbers that we looked at, but yeah, the top tier was up. They all edged up a little bit this coming year, but not enough to make any sense. They're still going to be paying a lot of luxury
So
tax.
don't the Mets still pay someone that played like 10 years ago? Are
Bobby
they the
Bonilla.
team that
Bobby
has?
Bonilla,
Oh yeah, okay.
he's still got time to go.
Yep.
He
He
does.
He gets
Yes.
paid $1.1 million a year at the age of 60. And
Okay.
apparently, Ron, according to this list, they pay somebody else too.
Oh yeah.
But Hager? Never heard of it. I'll put his name in the chat and pull it up.
Nah, I don't know. Bonilla makes $1.2 million every July 1st through 2035.
That has to be one of the smartest business decisions that a player ever made.
Ron, you ever heard of this name?
No.
Saberhagen was a pitcher.
Yeah, he's getting $250,000 a year still.
Yeah, and I'll go on a limb and say he probably had the same agent as Bonilla did.
Maybe because Bonilla is 60, so getting paid, and Saberhagen is 59. So
Saberhagen was actually an all-star pitcher. Pitched the majority of his time with Kansas City,
okay.
and then landed with the Mets late in his career.
Yeah, 'cause I'm just looking at the food salaries and Bonilla, and this guy's name's on the list. So for 2 players that probably haven't played in 20 years, you're deferring almost $1.4 million in salary.
Bonilla will be 72 years old when he gets his last check.
Yeah, then you collect Social Security.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. And then retained salary, they're still paying. Wait a minute. Leftover salaries from players who have been traded or released or buyouts for declined options. So they're still paying Robinson Cano $20 million too this year.
Wow.
And then James McCann, $11 million. Yeah. Mets are a mess. Good thing it's not like the NFL where it comes up as dead money. So, but that's just crazy. I mean, the Yankees are up there too, though. The Yankees always spend crazy money too.
Yeah, that's true. They do.
That must be that New York state of mind. All those high bracket taxes up there. So,
Yeah, there you go. Well, yeah,
And
they do have the city city wage tax in New York City. So actually, all the players that play in New York have to pay a tax as a visiting player. They actually get billed. They get billed for each game they work in New York.
That's crazy.
For taxes.
They need to pay a city tax and the federal taxes and the state tax.
And a state tax, yeah, in New York.
Well, I think that's why a lot of players are trying to stay out of California, because the tax bracket out there is supposed to be really high too.
Yep.
That's why, like someone like Trey Turner didn't sign with San Diego.
That's why they have to inflate the contracts in for like the Blue Jays and stuff too, because of the taxes situation, which they have to pay both Canadian tax and tax in the United States.
Yeah, exchange rate, if I'm not mistaken.
And the exchange rate is, well, the exchange rate with Canadian currency right now is probably about even. I mean, it used to be like $1.60. I remember when I went to Canada, it was like $1.65 to a dollar to a Canadian dollar was $1.65 in well, a dollar American was $1.65 Canadian.
Okay.
At the time, but that was a long time ago. I know the exchange rate's a lot different now.
I want to say I was up there about 15 years ago. I think it was $1.27 was a Canadian dollar compared to an American dollar. So like only like 27 cents. But
well, now a Canadian dollar's worth 74 cents United States dollar.
Wow.
As of today.
So it's actually going, it keeps going down.
So it's going down and down.
Wow.
Mainly due to a lot of the trade deals that went down with some administrations passed.
That is true. You know how they go.
Yeah. So.
All right, Jay,
but this is sports. This isn't politics show.
Yeah, true. What other sports would Jason like to talk about since you're the guest?
Did we ever come to an agreement on Hoskins? What did we finally agree on? Is it got to go?
If you can get something for him, sure. Because like Jason said, you can plug somebody like Derek Hall in and still get the same production. But if you're just going to trade Hoskins for scraps, I'm keeping him.
I mean, do you explore putting Alec Boehm at first and like bringing like a Segura back for third base?
No.
Well,
I think he's signed.
No, not as of last week. He hadn't signed anywhere. But I think you got to reserve some games. We talked about this before. I think you got to reserve some games with Real Muto at first base, because his catching every day days are starting to get close to being over.
You could probably honestly do that easily, because don't they have a catcher or two in the minors that should be up already?
They have one.
Yeah, I know they definitely got one in the minors, but they have Garrett Stubbs right now as his backup.
I think they had a guy who went up to AAA at the end of last year, I think, that they said could possibly make the roster this year. And that means
who's going to be a DH?
It depends. It depends on if they add an outfielder or not. I mean, it could end up being Castellanos. I mean, realistically, it could. You got Schwarber. You retained Brandon Marsh. You got Veerling. To me, I think Castellanos makes the most sense, because I think he's the biggest defensive liability. I mean, why not take Hoskins and put him back out in the outfield?
Okay.
I mean, he's not going to be as big of a liability. He proved, when he was out there, at minimum, he was, he's probably better than Castellanos is as far as defense. And if you don't have to give up those 30 home runs and 90 RBIs that he's probably going to produce for you.
No, you're right.
Is it me or is Hoskins one of the ugliest 30 home run hitters ever? I feel like he strikes
Second.
out and has
Second.
to who? Ryan Howard?
Nope. Dave Kingman. Dave
Yeah.
Kingman hit 500 home runs and had a career batting average of about 226 because he struck out so much. He literally was a strikeout or a home run.
I guess Jim Thome was that way a little bit. Thome didn't really hit extra base hits too much. He was kind of a home run or walk kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ken says Seattle Mariners DH.
Who?
I guess he's talking about who you're talking about, Bob.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm trying to pull up a list. Hold on. Hold on. Where's my computer? So, backtrack for a second. So they said the Phillies' top prospects were Andrew Painter, Mick Abel, Griff McCurry, Justin Crawford, who was a high draft pick a couple years ago, Ho-Yu Lee, just as infielder, never heard of him, Johan Rojas, Francisco Morales, and Eric Miller, who's the pitcher you had mentioned, Ron.
Yeah.
And then who else we got on this list? So, I mean, Crawford's an interesting name because he was a high draft pick. He's still fairly young, so I would say he needs a couple more years to develop. But 2-3 years, he could be a name that pops up. Look, his father is Carl Crawford, tremendous speed in the majors. So, you never know.
Carl Crawford was a great hitter.
Yes, he was.
He's a contact guy. Yeah, he is a hit for average guy. Always made contact. He didn't strike out a lot. Always put the ball in play. And he had speed. At the end, he got a little heavy, but, for the most part, in the early part of his career, he was a double guy. Anything he hit was potentially a double.
Well, I'm glad the Phillies didn't do this because apparently they, I guess, reached out to Washington about Juan Soto, who won it. But the Nationals wanted Andrew Painter in the deal, and the Phillies said no. Thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
I don't think there's any way that they part with Painter. They see that potential.
So, Abel's going to be pretty good too. We might have two, maybe not this year, but Abel's going to be a pretty good pitcher too.
Yeah.
I was watching highlights on YouTube of him. He has some nice stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. Abel, Painter. Your dad said Brad Miller, the one pitcher that made his way up to Double-A last year. Then there's Griff McCurry has risen the ranks apparently pretty quickly too. In 17 starts, he had a 3.26 ERA, striking out 14 per 9. So, I mean, it sounds like we have pitchers developing. So,
finally, we're rebuilding that farm system. That's all under Dombrowski's watch because they decimated this system previous to him getting here.
Mm-hmm. And then this Yu Lee guy, 19-year-old Lee, who signed with the Phillies last summer out of Taiwan, has been at low A Clearwater with a .818 on base percentage, which is pretty good.
Nice.
For low A, so
well,
he's only 19,
See, John, you just made me look bad. I just killed the Phillies for never scouting international, and you bring up this guy.
Yep. Ho-Yu Lee. Say that 4 times fast. And then you got Johan Rojas playing in Reading. Francisco Morales, a bullpen guy, Eric Miller. Yeah, then a couple more outfielders. There's 3 outfielders in a row.
You know how good it feels not to hear Dominic Brown or Mickey Moniak on that list?
Yeah, yeah, really.
I
Jeff
feel like
Stone.
I feel like I've had 20 years of Dominic Brown and Mickey Moniak.
Well, Mickey Moniak, I think, will make a difference in Anaheim, though. I think he'll become an everyday outfielder out there and take a lot of pressure off Ohtani has to play the field.
Am I the only one that hopes that one day there's a homecoming for Mike Trout and he comes to Philly for a year?
Yeah, I don't know if they might have priced themselves out of that with this Turner deal. I think, between what they're paying Turner, what they're paying Harper, and for how long, I think that's going to pretty much keep Trout out of Philly.
But you're telling me if Trout was 38 years old, wanted to come back home for one season, you wanted to sign him a 1 year, like say $25, $30 million deal?
Done deal. If you come here, if you want to come here and play the last year of your career for that amount, absolutely, sign them up. I'll go pick them up.
So I'm just throwing out a theoretical stance for you. Mike Trout said, "I only want to play for one team, a 1 year deal. I want to go home."
I'll take him a cheesesteak when I go to pick him up. Same place that Doug got they got the cheesesteaks for Doug.
Yeah, I mean, here you got. I was surprised I read that story. They only sent 35 cheesesteaks down
and 25 fries. So they said 10 guys don't get fries. What's up with that?
Well, not even that. We have to play. They don't get food. I think he said only.
It was symbolic. It was a symbolic thing. It was for the coaching staff, actually.
It was. That's what I mean. We're about to play. They're the ones that played the game.
Well, the lower coaches don't deserve fries.
The one thing that cracked me up, okay, since we're talking about coaching staff, did you guys notice who was the coach of Dallas' secondary on Saturday?
No.
Jason, did you catch the name?
No. I don't think I did.
Al Harris?
Oh, yeah. I did catch that. Yes, I did catch that.
He doesn't have a
coach. Al Harris?
The Al Harris, yes.
Oh, wow.
He's walking up and down the sidelines in a short T-shirt. You see all his tattoos and stuff. How's this guy a coach?
Now we know why their kick returner is so good.
Well, Robert Tobin has a lot of speed. I gotta give him that.
So how about Miles Austin getting suspended for a year for FanDuel?
See, I'm optimistic about that because it doesn't change the outcome of these games.
But they have specific rules that they sign when they sign on. So
okay, but 95% of players in the NFL right now are playing fantasy football against each other.
I have one thing for football. So Jacksonville is making a big splash right now. I think everyone forgot that Calvin Ridley is on that team and got suspended for betting for a year as well.
Mm-hmm.
But next year when Calvin Ridley is back, look out.
Yeah, absolutely. Him, Christian Kirk. They still got Marvin Jones locked up. They might have to bring back Evan Ingram with the season he's having. Then you got Travis Etienne, your running back. It's a very good, young, underrated offense.
And the right coach to coach young guys.
Dougie P.
With his cheesesteak.
Yep.
And he has his offensive coordinator he wanted in Philly and Press Taylor.
Yeah.
So that could be a scary. I wouldn't put him echelon top 3 in the AFC, but if they get all the right pieces down there, they could be easily a top 7 team. They
could start to make some waves.
Yeah.
I think they're making some waves already, really. I mean, just the fact that it's week 15 and they're still in the conversation, I think that's a tribute to Doug and to what he's been able to accomplish there.
Yeah. Very true. And I think they're projected to have $30 million in cap space again.
Yeah.
I don't know how they get this money every year, but Jacksonville always has an astronomical amount of money to spend.
Yeah. Because the team's
They
getting
never-
younger and younger.
They never keep anyone past their rookie contract.
They're not hanging on to these old veterans, for sentimental reasons.
That is true.
They just draft next man up and move on.
Yeah. And the name that everyone seems to have forgotten down there is Trayvon Walker, the first overall pick this year.
Yeah.
I haven't really heard much of him at all this year, so.
No.
I think he had an injury problem this year, but he's back now.
So here you go. 2023 free agents for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's see who's a free agent. Tell you, Jason, I love this website. You should look at it. So top one on the list is Evan Ingram, Marvin Jones, Dwayne Smoot, Adrian Kay, like bunch of players that could easily be replaced.
Yeah.
Now, with the season Evan Ingram's having on a 1-year, $9 million deal, do you lock him up long term, or do you think he tests and try to see if he can get that bigger contract somewhere else?
I think he's getting a little older, isn't he?
He is now 28.
Yeah, I don't know if you go long term on a tight end at 28. There's a very small select group that goes that long at that position.
True.
So I think there's some guys that could do it. I just don't know if Ingram's one of them.
Well, all
I think
three are tight ends are free agents going into next year, though.
Yeah. But I think tight end's a position that they can, with the amount of cap space they have, they could pick up a very serviceable tight end for a reasonable amount of money who can probably plug into the system.
So, even though
I mean, is Zach Ertz a free agent after this year?
more than likely, I
I believe so.
So
And he's not
what
going back
about
to
Zach
Arizona.
Ertz? What about Zach Ertz going to play for Doug?
I could get on board with that. I definitely could. Let's see.
That
I'll
would
pull
be
it
an
back.
interesting addition to that team.
It would be, and it gives you good veteran leadership too.
Veteran leadership in the locker room to draft a young guy, let him learn under Zach, and he knows Doug's system. Absolutely, smartest move he can make.
I could definitely see that. I'm looking at Arizona's list. No, Zach Ertz is under contract next year.
I thought he was a free agent after the year. Bummer. There goes that theory.
I mean, but someone like Zach Ertz coming off an injury, you could probably make a draft day trade for somebody like that, give up a 4 or a 5, and there you go.
Yeah. That's true.
We'll see.
All right, bring up the list of the Eagles free agents after this year.
Okay. We had did this a couple weeks ago. It's a very interesting list.
Yeah. Are we gonna let's do the same thing? Let's do stay or go.
Okay. Hi, Andrea. Thanks for popping
Hi,
in.
Andrea. How you doing? Good to see you.
Yeah, definitely. Hope you're looking forward to Friday night. Andrew should be back on for Friday night movie night, hopefully. I know I won't be, but hopefully her and Mike have Rogue One planned out, ready to go. So they can keep their Star Wars. All good here, finally, just tired. Christmas will do that to you. Welcome to Christmas for Kids. All right. Now, we have a freak snowstorm hitting Friday, so we shall see. Oh boy.
Okay.
There we go. Ken says, now do you guys think there are some decent free agents that can help? Of course, you could always find depth and role players late in free agency. Like look at Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He was a late addition, and he's been great. James Bradbury, another one who didn't sign till later in the summer, great addition. So
Yeah. I think you have to see who goes deep in the playoffs, because that always seems to affect the free agent market quite a bit as well, because you always see a lot of movement from those Super Bowl teams.
That is true.
So there may be some people potentially that become available who may not normally be available.
Yeah. Good evening,
Just-
Curtis. Thanks for popping in.
Hey, Curtis.
Curtis is a Miami fan, Jason, so he's a bit reeling the last couple of weeks, but his Dolphins are still going to make the playoffs.
Tua is in concussion protocol again.
Yeah, I read that.
I saw that.
That's
So
not
what?
good.
What?
That's not
What
good
was the
news.
outcome? What was the outcome of Jordan Davis's injury? Is it a concussion, or did he have another kind of head injury? What was the update on that? I didn't see the post game.
He was
I
due to
see
have an
nothing.
MRI today. They haven't announced anything yet.
Ken wants
That
to
I
know what's
saw.
going on with your Flyers. A young, inconsistent, developing team.
Yeah, I'll tell you that they've had their issues for sure. I think that a lot of things that they took for granted, they let kind of slide. And then you took a coach that really, I think, didn't fit the system very well. Didn't fit the talent that was there, and tried to remold the talent and failed miserably. So now I think you got a guy in there now who's more of a hard ass in Tortorella.
Now, is he 1 year and done, or do you bring him back?
Depends. I mean, really, you're gonna have to wait and see how they finish up the year. If they start responding to what he's doing, then maybe they keep him around. But he could have just been a transitional guy, just to kind of right the ship, trying to get the rudder straight, and then move on to somebody else who's a little more player friendly.
So I feel like the Flyers are in the same path as the Raiders with Al Davis. After what's his name passed away, the Flyers have just went.
Ed Snyder.
Yeah, Ed Snyder.
Ed Snyder.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a good one.
Yep.
All right, so Jason wants to play Stay or Go. Right?
Okay.
Jason, the first name on the list. What's your Cox? Stay or go?
Gone.
Okay. I think we all agreed that he was gone, right?
Gone, yeah.
Second one's a no-brainer.
He will be in Jacksonville with Dougie P.
There you go. Go ahead first. What's your Cox to Jacksonville?
Okay, you heard it
to
here.
bring Jason back on for a free agency special. So
yeah.
The second one is a no-brainer. Robert Quinn, gone. Brandon Graham.
He'll be back.
Stay, if the deal's right.
If the deal is right, I wouldn't sign him to more than a 1-2 year deal.
1 year deal.
1 year deal. Call it quits and end your career with Philly.
Yes.
Brandon Graham won't go anywhere else.
All right.
He'll retire.
Next one's a tough one because he's having a great year. Javon Hargrave. This one you could go either way.
I'd love to be able to keep him if we can afford him, but he's going to warrant some big money. Somebody's going to throw a lot of money at him.
He's going to warrant too much money. He can't, honestly. That's where that top 10 pick from the Saints is going to have to come in, because with all the holes that we're going to have with this list, we can't pay him.
You're gonna have to choose between keeping Hargrave or keeping Gardner Johnson.
Bradbury, yeah.
Or
Gardner Johnson, Bradbury. So.
And I think you got to keep that back end strong.
Now, if they can get this next guy back with another keg of beer, I say you keep him. Jason Kelsey. Or does he call it quits?
If they win, he quits. I think that he's not going to stand in the way of Jurgen's development. So he handpicked the kid. I think that he handpicked the kid with the thinking that this was going to be his last year. So unless they go out early and he feels like he has something to prove, I think that Kelsey is probably going to retire.
Jason.
I think Kelsey's done. I think he's done after this year.
All right, now say he quits, okay? You offer him a deal to come right back under Jeff Stoutland as an assistant offensive line coach. You keep him in the organization. Or you just
He'll
let him
definitely
go?
be in the organization.
Unless he goes into broadcasting.
That is true. Him and Travis have a podcast now. So
Yeah, their podcast is pretty cool. I enjoy it.
okay. The next one, James Bradbury.
You can't pay him enough.
I think
I
that's
don't think you.
that's the sticking point. So, Mr. Simmons, thanks for popping in.
Hello.
That's Sam. He used to be on here a lot with us in the beginning. He got busy with life. He is also a Dallas Cowboys fan. So, if you guys want to trash him, feel free. I respect him, but
hey, he's got respect this week.
yeah. So,
I don't think they can keep Bradbury. What do you think?
no, I'm in the same boat. I mean, you're gonna have to pay Hoots. You're gonna have to. There's other pieces of this puzzle that they're gonna value more than somebody like James Bradbury.
I tend to agree with you there.
So as much as
I
you would
think
like
if I've
to,
got a choice between Bradbury and Johnson, I keep Johnson. I think they have to pay Johnson.
yeah, well, we shall see. Next one is Isaac Salamoa.
Pay the man.
I mean, I think you could get him back fairly cheap.
Yeah.
On a 2-year deal, so I would hold on to him.
I'd keep him.
So now the next one is a very interesting one. Andre Dillard.
Goodbye.
I don't think he stays. He hasn't really panned out as much.
Goodbye.
Meh.
But, Dad, how many years do you think Lane has left?
I'd say maybe 3. Maybe. I mean, it depends. I mean, now this is his second year in a row. He's had this little nagging injury. So, if he's going to start to get bit by the injury bug more and more, then maybe 2. But I think he's got at least a couple years left at this level, at a Pro Bowl level. You gotta assume that he's going to hang on to it. He hasn't shown any signs of slipping.
So do you keep Dillard for that time? Or
No.
do you try to explore other options when it comes closer?
I think that you definitely explore options when it gets closer, because I think at this point, you got too many other areas you got to focus in on. And Sam, I totally agree, man. It was a close game. Everybody was on the edge of their seat. I think that both teams played good ball, and the team that protected the ball the most is the team that won. So,
see,
I want to acknowledge that.
My argument with Dillard, okay, as much as you want to see him go, he's actually stepped in a couple times and filled in at guard when Dickerson's gone out, and he's actually been very productive as a interior lineman. So if you could bring him back at a reasonable price and move him into the inside instead of keeping him on the outside, I think you might have something there.
I have a question. You just made something click in my head. Do you think they let Sayamalu walk and pay Dillard less to play guard?
That is a very well possibility, because right now, yeah, you have Dickerson under a rookie contract, but you don't really have other guards developing because you're not giving them a chance. Suapet is in and out. Josh Stills is always in and out. So if you can develop someone like Andre Dillard to move in the interior line, he could become worth something.
Well, I think we went across this we'll pay you less to play a different position bridge once before, and it didn't work out very well.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing, but it's something to keep in the back of your mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think about.
Okay.
I mean, you have invested quite a bit in him, so
he's not worth the first amount of money that you gave him.
no.
So,
but if you're going to re-sign him and you re-sign him as a guard, as a backup guard,
but
then
that's the thing.
I just don't know. I don't know that he takes that kind of a deal if he can get a better deal elsewhere.
Hypothetically, he wouldn't be a backup because Sayamalu will be gone.
Yeah.
So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
All right, now on the defensive side of the ball again, Kaizel White.
Goodbye.
Gone.
See, I would tend to I would agree, but I would also disagree. You got him on a really team-friendly this year, a $1 million, $5 million deal, and he's been making plays. Yes, he's missed a couple of tackles, I will say that, but I think he can still be a good, strong outside linebacker unless you're ready for Jacoby Dean to step in and take over.
Well,
that's the problem. You have to pay both linebackers the same year, and you can't pay them both. And I would rather pay T.J. Edwards than Kaiser White.
Yes,
agree. That's the next one on the list is T.J. Edwards.
Yep, got to bring him back.
Got to bring him back.
He played the way he played this year. He proved that he deserves to be on this team. So you definitely got to bring him back.
All right. Now the next two, I'm just going to name them together because they're rentals at $250,000 a piece for the rest of this year. Adama Kasu and Lebon Joseph. Do you sign any one of these two back for another year?
I would explore bringing Joseph back.
I think Sue's done.
Sue's done.
I think if you could get Joseph back in a reasonable deal, yeah. But I think that Joseph came back solely. Well, actually, they both came back solely to make sure that they got another year of service under their pensions.
Yeah. So.
And that's the only reason that they were here and that they took that kind of a deal. I just don't know if they do it 2 years in a row.
I don't think I completely understand what happened with Joseph. If I'm understanding it right, he got hurt and then he got released. How does that work? How are they allowed to release injured players and just
if they have
say, we're not paying you if you're injured?
If they come to an injury settlement, there's a clause in football contracts that allows them to make an agreement with a player to buy them out of their contract even though they're injured.
Yeah, like your dad's spot on with that comment. So,
yep.
The next one is a very interesting one. Boston Scott.
Goodbye.
His history says goodbye because the Eagles don't pay running backs.
Okay. But you lose someone, if you let someone like Boston Scott go, and you're letting someone like a Darren Sproles walk away again.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's a smart move. I mean, he's been pretty valuable in the special teams this year, and he's filled in a little bit. I mean, it's not that he's a bad player. It's just if you're talking about the Eagles and their philosophies, that's one thing that's always been. They just don't sign running backs to long-term deals.
Yeah. All right. Zach Pascal. I say sorry, but since you said unless you can get something for Chris Watkins, Zach Pascal is expendable.
Thanks for playing. You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
You agree, Jason?
Pretty much.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Next one. This is going to be a little tough one. Miles Sanders.
Gone.
Again, same thing.
Even after putting up 1,000+ yards this year?
That just got him a bigger contract with someone else.
And they'll draft a running back in the second round.
Okay.
They got two second round picks, I think, this year.
Yep.
They got 2 1s, 2 2s, a 3, and 2 4s, I think. If I remember correctly.
My dad thinks Gainwell is going to be a starting running back next year.
I don't know. Peter King thinks we're drafting a running back in the first round.
Peter King's a whack job. He's getting too old.
Who's the last
Kid
running
from
back?
Texas.
Who's the last running back the Eagles drafted in the first round? You're going to be thinking for a long time.
Jay Burwanger, 1939, from running back from Chicago.
I know a running back they should have drafted in the second round.
Who's that?
Dalvin Cook, that they passed up on.
Yeah. The last running back in the first round by the Eagles. It was in the 1980s. I know that.
I'm checking right now.
Oh, God. If anyone in the chat knows, feel free to chime in. Prove me wrong. Because I know it wasn't Charlie Gardner. They didn't draft Ricky Waters. Oh, what was his name? Tommy Joseph, wasn't it? Oh, God, man. Why can't I think of his name?
Oh, I'm going back and back and back and back.
I'm trying to check in the 80s.
1986, Keith Byers.
Okay. The Ohio State.
1983, Michael Haddix.
Haddix was a bust.
So, and before that, you have to go back to 1969, Leroy Keys out of Purdue.
Wow.
So, yeah, their history has not been to draft running backs in the first round.
No, but they have done a very nice job later in the draft finding some key running backs.
This is true. True.
Brian Westbrook had Villanova.
Yes.
Sanders
absolutely.
was a second round pick.
Yep. That's why I said second round. They could easily get a quality running back in the second round, even in a weak draft.
Yeah. A lot of teams do that.
Yep. Because it's just in today's NFL, it's not as valuable of a position in a team that's primarily a passing offense.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Now, I don't know if Mr. Simmons is still in the chat or not. Sam, if you're still in here, I'll ask Ron as well. What do you do with Dallas's running back situation? That is a mess with having someone like Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott now basically splitting the load. Do you favor one over the other? Does that enhance Tony Pollard's draft capital that you can now maybe explore getting rid of Pollard and keeping Zeke, or vice versa?
I can't imagine that they would keep Zeke if Pollard's continuing to show that he can play in this league at that level. I mean, to me, Zeke is just he's an expensive luxury that they don't need.
Sure.
And again, they're starting to evolve into a more. Dallas was always known as a running team for years and years, primarily, and now they've changed their philosophies, and they're definitely a pass happy team at this point. Yeah, even though they do have a decent running game, they're primarily a passing team with the focus they put on wide receiver position with Lamb and with and having Dak.
Lamb, Gallup,
Gallup.
I actually like Michael Gallup. I have to admit it. I hate to say that, but Gallup is a baller.
Yeah, and Hilton's just a 1 year. He's one and done. He's just a stopgap.
That is true. All right, back to our Eagles list.
Okay.
Rick Lorito.
Oh boy, long snapper.
He'll come back.
Yeah, they bring him back. They're comfortable. He's not that expensive, and long snapper at his level, he's been a Pro Bowler multiple times.
You know who they got to bring back is Mike Bartram. Okay, bring back Mike Bartram. Get old number 88 back in that. All he did was long snap and catch touchdowns.
Yeah, they've had a couple prolific long snappers in the day.
Yeah,
John Dornbos.
Yeah,
the magician.
Yeah.
But if you remember correctly, he actually thanked the Eagles for saving his life because when he got traded to New Orleans, they did that physical, and that's when they found that condition.
Yep, that's true.
So, all right, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Got to pay him.
Name the other one with him, and then we have to pick one.
Well, both your safeties are free agents next year.
Yes.
Marcus Epps and Gardner-Johnson.
So who are you guys keeping?
Gardner-Johnson.
Johnson.
I guess
Me
you
too.
found the website
I'm right
I
with
found,
you.
Jason.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said, I guess you found the website I'm looking at.
Oh no, I just know it off the top of my head.
Okay.
I have a problem.
No, good. The more knowledge, the better. Josiah Opeta, who we just recently said is a death office alignment. I say you just let him walk.
I think you hire him to drive the team bus.
I guess
That's
Jason
it.
agrees.
It just
I've never seen him play, so I don't know.
I mean that's all dependent on what you do with Sayamalu. I mean, you don't want to let all of your guard depth go. Like if you're letting Dillard, Opeta, and Sayamalu all walk, that could be problemsome.
Yeah, pretty disastrous. Now
yeah,
the next,
but you know they're going to draft one or two offensive linemen in this draft.
oh, easily. It's so deep at offensive lineman. I think that's
They've built the whole defense this season with all the acquisitions and stuff that they made. I think that they go back and they look at that offensive line getting a little long in the tooth, and they grab a couple guys that can develop.
Yeah. What I will say, I am happy for a coach like Sirianni is we're actually drafting players out of the SEC finally. For many, many years under Andy Reid and all them, they thought outside the box. They went to these smaller schools. Granted,
Yeah.
we found some prize winners, but the SEC, ACC, Pac-12 is where you want to draft. These players are ready to go week one.
Yep.
I don't even know his name, but I went to safety from Georgia. Doesn't matter what one. I'll take either one. I don't even know their names.
Didn't we talk about the one guy? His name was Kool-Aid.
Next is, unfortunately, this one's a no-brainer too. Tyree Jackson. It was a development thing. He was a quarterback in college. They brought him in, changed him to a tight end. He just can't stay healthy.
Gone.
Gone.
As much as I hate it, he's gone too. Now this one's another real tough one. Gardner Minshew.
He's going to be if he wins the next game or maybe two games, he might be looked at as a starter somewhere next year because, like, one of the analysts were saying he's probably a top 32 quarterback right now, being a backup that never plays.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that somebody will probably maybe offer him starter money. But I mean, I also think that the Eagles know what they have there. And when you have a quarterback who runs the risk of injury on a weekly basis, not that Jalen has an injury history, I think you have to have a backup that can step in and play at that level. And that for that reason and that reason alone, I think he might stick around.
Now, say you let someone like Minshew walk, the only other quarterback you have right now is Ian Book. He's a fourth-round draft pick. I think the Saints drafted him out of Notre Dame. Yeah. He's another type mobile quarterback. It's like, so if you let Minshew walk, you're going to have Hurts and Book. And Hurts is going to be coming into a contract year. So you invest all your money in Hurts now, or do you wait one more year to do it? So
you have to pay him this year.
Yeah, you have to pay him. You can't let him go into the final year.
And then the last one on the list is Marcus Epps. So
yeah.
Take Kayvon Wallace with you too.
You might have a situation where you could keep Epps, or you could keep a guy like Bradbury. I mean, It might be a choice between them two.
I think any quarterback that's doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
Ken, absolutely. You need that solid quarterback because mobile quarterbacks, as much as they're elusive, also are the highest injury prone quarterbacks in the whole entire league.
Yep. I agree 100%. You definitely got to have a solid backup. And, you know, just think if we didn't have Nick Foles, you know, how would the Super Bowl year have played out?
Yeah, very true.
So is Nick Foles going to save Jeff Saturday's job?
No. Jeff Saturday lost his job when they gave up a 33-0 lead.
Yep. That was his final goodbye.
All right. Now I found a list that is every free agent coming out next year.
Okay.
I don't know how much you guys know about the whole NFL, but I could name some of these players and see what you guys think. Like the top one on the list is Orlando Brown Jr., offensive lineman from Kansas City.
I'm not interested.
I don't think Kansas City lets him go.
No, I think what they gave up draft capital wise, they can't.
Yeah, they got to keep him.
Next one on the list, Tom Brady. I want him in Philly.
He is but he's going somewhere.
He's going back to New England.
He won't be in Tampa Bay.
No. Me and Dad actually talked about that a couple weeks ago, about him going back up to San Francisco. New England. The one we run around with Bill Belichick. They both win it. They both call it quits.
That would
Gronk will join in.
That would be the storybook ending.
Yeah.
And then Gronk comes back and joins them.
Yeah, he's already talking about it.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to skip over one from Cleveland because the next one's intriguing. J.J. Watt.
I think he's done. I'm not even saying he's not gonna be Eagle, but I think he's done. He's probably gonna retire.
I could see that. I mean, he's had a great career. Getting off during the age, and he's starting to rattle his career a little bit. I mean, I could see that.
Or he might do what Sue has done the past 2 years and just jump in for a run somewhere.
Yeah, another good possibility.
Ken, I agree. They got to pay him. They got to pay him this year, whether he wins an award or not. He's got to get paid. Jalen Hurts. He's got to get paid.
Oh, absolutely. Or join his brother. That is a possibility too. Sign a 1-year deal and go join his brothers in Pittsburgh. That is very.
That would be interesting.
And then
Guy. What's up, Guy?
Retires.
Hey, Guy.
Hey, Guy.
JJ retires. Guy has spoken.
All right. Next one, Marcus Peters. Another really intriguing name that a team gave up a lot of draft capital for.
He's past his prime. I mean, I don't see much value in him.
Okay. A safety on the list, Jesse Bates III.
I am very, very interested in him.
Yeah, that's a name.
I would love to see him and Gardner Johnson next to each other back at safety position.
Because I'm going to click on one thing real quick. This is something I found very interesting. So Jesse Bates' market value for next year would be $10.6 million.
That's doable.
Pay him.
So if you do a market value deal, it would be a 4-year, $42.4 million deal.
I'll drive him around wherever he needs to go.
Get cheesesteaks.
Yep. Take him right to the cheesesteak.
Well, because they had interest in J.J. Bates before the start of the season, so I think it'd be really interesting to see if they follow up on that and pursue him in free agency.
So, just for reference, Guy is a 49ers fan.
Cool.
So he's been a 49ers fan all of his life, and
Well,
he always says,
ask him about Brady. We were just
"Guy,
talking
you want
about it.
Tom Brady on your team?"
I'd say no.
I say no also.
Because even if Trey Lance is still out a couple weeks starting the next season, like Brock Purdy has showed that he can lead that team. Granted, they might lose their defensive coordinator and D'Amico Ryans, who is getting a better job, but that defense is also scary. Guy, you have a hell of a team. Being a 49ers fan, they scare me. They are the second best team in the NFC right now. And he says Brady can retire once again.
Thank you.
So,
But
Guy, you want
he's going to land somewhere for one more year. If he dumped Giselle over football, he's not going to quit until they make him quit. And then he'll go take that broadcasting deal he's got waiting for him.
yeah, another $100 million.
Yeah.
Guy, you think they're gonna continue with Brock Purdy, or do you think they're gonna go over to Lance next year?
Ryans is going to go somewhere. I mean, he's definitely going to be going somewhere. He's probably the number one candidate of anybody right now.
That would be Bieniemy from Kansas City.
Yeah, but Bieniemy's name always came up, and then he never got the job. I mean, he's interviewed multiple times.
Yeah, which isn't fair to him. I think he's an NFL caliber head coach candidate.
Well, I agree with you there, but I just think that Ryans is the hot name right now. You know, every year there's a name that's out there that every team wants, and I think that's the guy.
Yeah. They would start Lance, but once he's ineffective, Brock will be in relief.
There you go.
Man, that's
I can see it.
Very possible. I mean, and then Ken saying Broncos or Colts for Lions, both very possible and good fits.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if Denver wants to go back to defensive minded coaches, you know, obviously Ryans would be the choice.
Yeah, but Indianapolis is another very dark horse team, though.
Yeah.
So
I don't think Indianapolis will go defensive coach.
They need to get a quarterback.
Yeah, they definitely need a quarterback's definitely a top priority this year.
Yeah. So I mean, the Colts number one priority needs to be finding a coach and then having the coach agree on who the quarterback's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't think a coach is going to come here with a question mark at quarterback. They have to know exactly what their intentions are going into this draft. Are you drafting a guy? Am I taking a guy out of college and starting from scratch? Are you bringing in a vet for a year or two to develop this kid? You know, those are things that all have to take place before any coach decides that they're going to take that job in Indianapolis.
I think Indianapolis and Las Vegas are the top two destinations for Lamar Jackson. Those teams might be one or the other where Lamar Jackson lands.
Lamar Jackson's going to follow the money, and the team's going to overpay him. He's going to get hurt year one or two in that contract and never be the same ever again.
Indy or Las Vegas, I think one of them was going to get Lamar Jackson. Because I believe Derek Carr is on the free agent list this year.
Now you might have one more year. Jim Harbaugh threw his hat in the mix for the guy, that would be really strange. Jim Harbaugh going to Indianapolis.
That's interesting.
That would be very interesting, considering that's the team that drafted him. So we'll see. But
that's an intriguing thought.
Yeah, I mean, NFL offseason is my favorite time of year. So anytime anyone who wants to do an NFL offseason show, sign me up.
Guy, as a Niners fan, what team scares you the most in the NFC?
Herm Edwards is another one.
Yeah, I don't know if Herm goes back into coaching anymore. I think he's done coaching. I think he's better in the broadcast booth.
Oh, how he got fired out in Arizona State was kind of messed up.
He got screwed.
Do you think one of the Manning brothers would be a head coaching candidate?
Not yet. Coordinator, maybe. Head coaching wise, no.
I don't think Peyton is a coach. Peyton is a guy who has too many other interests.
I don't think any of them. Neither of them wants
to put in the
coach.
time that it would take to be an NFL head coach.
I mean, maybe when the nephew or whatever comes up, but not right now.
Guy's a realist. He knows. He's a true fan. He knows that, probably one and 1A is San Fran and Philly in the NFC.
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally agree.
Yep, I agree with that too.
Yep.
Especially with the simulcast on Monday Night Football. I haven't personally watched one, but I heard it's a riot. Hi, Morgan.
Yeah,
Hi,
I'm
Morgan.
pretty sure with that YouTube contract, YouTube will throw the bank at them to get them to broadcast.
Yeah, Ken spot on with this comment.
Ken,
too.
he's on my train there. I've gone out on a limb and said that the scariest team in the NFL right now is the Detroit Lions.
But Jared Goff?
But they're playing at such a high level right now, offensively and defensively.
I'm not talking about Jared Goff. I'm talking about a team. If you look at the teams right now, and you look at the coaches that are getting the maximum from their team, there is no coach getting more out of their team than Dan Campbell's getting out of the Detroit Lions right now.
Oh, absolutely. And they're a young team.
And they're young, and they're hungry, and they're scary.
Yep.
And if they make the playoffs, no team's going to want to play them.
Well, we learned that in week 2.
What?
We learned that the hard way in week 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if Detroit can get into the 7th spot and Minnesota holds on to 2, if I'm a Minnesota fan, I'm scared.
You should be.
So
I would absolutely agree with that.
I think nobody is afraid of the Vikings right now.
Nope.
Because the last 3 weeks they have proven that they can be beaten. Yes, they have come back and won these close games, but they have shown a lot of weakness.
So on the broadcast of the Vikings game, they said their point differential is 2.
2.
That's their average point differential. 2.
Yes. And that doesn't win in the playoffs.
No.
And their kicker has 7 game-winning field goals.
Yep.
7.
What's that tell you? That just shows you that Minnesota's flawed.
They're a mirage, so to speak.
And I think they get exposed this Sunday in Green Bay.
Yep.
Guy, if it's Niners Eagles NFC Championship game, my dad said he's buying us tickets.
Wow, that's awful generous, Ron.
Yeah, it sure is.
You might want to add me in that list too.
Yeah. We'll just rent a bus. We'll just rent a bus.
I miss going to home games, but people who resell their tickets sell them at astronomical prices. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Especially for the playoffs.
Yeah. I'll need to invest in bodyguards. No, I wouldn't say you need bodyguards, guy. I'd say you need smarts. If you go into a Philly game wearing your opposing colors, they won't harass you unless you start shit with them.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is that it's a little different these days than it was in the old days, Guy. If it was Veterans Stadium and it was the 700 level, we're having a different conversation.
Forget it.
In the link, anybody who starts a fight in the link, runs a risk of sacrificing their season tickets.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done that on a rather regular basis when there's been issues with unruly or fans assaulting other fans. So, but now if you're going to walk through the parking lot and talk shit during the tailgate, then you're on your own. You know, I can't help you there.
Well,
But inside the stadium, you're fine.
even tailgating, no bullshit, give you a hard time. But they'll say, okay, hey man, we're just kidding. Like, come have a beer or something.
Well, yeah, that's 99% of what goes on out there, even with an opposing team. But you just get that 1% of guys who was the same guy that I saw in Vet Stadium in the 700 level during the Eagles Dallas game, rips off his shirt in the middle of in December or November, whatever it was. He's got his body painted and it says F Philly. And he goes up in the 700 level and is taunting people. Now that's the guy who deserves it. And I know that's politically incorrect, but guess what? You went there intentionally to get beat up.
Yeah, I mean,
so that you could say I got beat up at an Eagles game.
Like, I've been to 6 away stadiums, and every single time I've sat next to a home team's fan, where I'm decked out in all my Eagles gear, and they're like, oh, great, here goes another asshole Eagles fan. Gonna sit here and talk shit the whole game. And by the end of the game, they're shaking my hands and saying how nice and entertaining I was to sit with. So,
I went to a Giants game with Guy and his wife, and it was against the Bears. And this Bears fan that was standing in front of us, like, I legit wanted to punch him, and I'm not even a Giants fan. Like, he was really being obnoxious for no reason at all.
people are like that is dumb. Do any of you think that Ravens or Chargers as an underdog?
If Chargers catch their vibe from last year, absolutely, they could be considered underdog, but they just haven't looked like the same team.
No. Are they even going to make it?
Well, they won tonight, so they have a very good shot.
Okay.
They beat the Colts 20-3.
Yeah. And the Ravens, you're down to your third quarterback now?
Yeah, something like that. But
even though he is, potentially a Pro Bowler for flag football. Just think about that for a second. And I know we talked about this earlier, but I want to throw it out there for everybody else. Tyler Huntley has thrown 74 passes in the NFL. He has 0 touchdowns. And he is the 4th quarterback on the Pro Bowl this year. He's only been on the team for 2 weeks. Why?
Something went wrong with the voting system. But
with that being said, like, is this the end of the Pro Bowl? Because I feel like the game is meaningless, and it really doesn't mean anything to be on the Pro Bowl anymore.
No,
well, the reason that they can't eliminate it completely is it's going to have to cycle out because a lot of players have incentives in their contracts that are tied to being chosen for the Pro Bowl. So
you get paid more to play in that flag football game?
You do. If you're chosen to the Pro Bowl, there's an incentive in your contract. You get that incentive, even though it's only a flag football game this year. And until those contracts all cycle out, they're no longer going to have that incentive be available in contracts going forward. But all these contracts that are existing now have to be paid out. So they have to continue to choose Pro Bowlers until all those contracts have cycled through.
Yeah. I mean, I think they'll always have players being named Pro Bowlers, but I don't think the game will be around much longer.
Well, yeah, they turned it into a flag football game, for God's sakes.
But I'm just saying, I think they eliminate that altogether, and these players are just named Pro Bowlers, but there would be nothing.
I know there were people throwing around the idea of a skills competition for the NFL like they have for the NBA, but
Well, they do that. They do
I
that
don't-
already.
They do.
Yeah. Watch it on the Ocho, ESPN 8, right after dodgeball. No, seriously, it is. I've watched it. So,
That would bring back what they used to do in Hawaii, like the longest throw or the mobile.
yeah, that's basically what it is. Oh, Ken. Ken had a comment there about Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin is not going anywhere until Mike Tomlin decides that he wants to go. The Pittsburgh Steelers do not fire coaches.
Nope.
So as long as he still wants to be there, he will be there.
Yeah, I agree.
They've only had, 4 coaches
Yep.
in their whole existence? 5?
And right now he's building something with those 3 young receivers and that quarterback.
Yep.
It's a team to watch next year.
Okay.
Yeah, Guy, that's right. Let your team do the talking. Absolutely.
Yep.
And you're absolutely right on the other point too, as well, because I think if it's just going to be a toe-to-toe shootout, I think that the Eagles just have a little bit of an edge just because of their defense.
But if we don't have our right tackle, we lose.
Well, that's a given.
That's a wait and see type of thing, I guess.
Yeah.
And then Chargers not really impressive. Sloppy plays late, and yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm 2 very good points. So,
don't worry. The Madden thing's probably coming.
Oh, what the Pro Bowl thing?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't doubt it.
That, or what they should do is name Pro Bowlers, but then they control the players on the game and just do it that way. But now Chargers won 20-3 tonight.
Yeah.
But Justin Herbert, 24-31, 235 and an INT, got sacked 4 times. Austin Eckler only had 18 carries for 67 yards, 2 touchdowns.
What was Nick Foles' numbers?
Do you really want to know?
Yeah, I do. I'm just curious.
17-29, 143 yards and 3 INTs.
Ooh.
And he was sacked 7 times.
Ooh. Nick Foles was 7-3 in games that he started after taking over for an injured quarterback.
Huh? I mean, he threw more interceptions tonight than he did all that one season.
And he was 1-0 on December 26th.
Yep. No, wait, was it December 7th? Yeah, hold on.
Top that for facts, man.
Wait, I'm trying to think because they played Oakland on Christmas night the one year and he won that game.
But that's not the 26th.
I'm trying to think who they played the 26th.
Vikings, right?
No.
I don't have to know who it was. I just have to know he was 1-0 on the 26th.
Okay. And no, the Vikings game was Joe Webb that beat us on Tuesday night.
Okay. Yeah, Tuesday night game. Oh, my God.
Joe Webb from Minnesota. Beat that.
Yeah. The famous Joe Webb Tuesday game.
Oh, God. And the funny part is I was supposed to be at that game. But we're over 2 hours. I don't know if you guys want to keep going. If you want to call it a night.
It's up to you guys.
Well, we usually try to keep it around like 2 hours.
Yeah, we said we were going to keep it reasonable tonight.
But a lot of new faces. I hope everyone wants to come back for some more. I mean,
absolutely.
Jason, you know you're always welcome, even if you just hang out and chat. Ken, Guy, it's been awesome chatting with you. Who else we have in here tonight? We had Mr. Simmons pop in, Morgan giving us a hard time at the Eagles.
Yeah.
Like
Andrea
stopped in. Gary stopped in.
Ken was a great contributor tonight.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Guy, you had some great points too, man. Awesome. We like educated people. They make us look smarter.
Look at this. Ken's at work actually listening to this.
Yeah, he said he was going to stop in on his breaks, but it looks like he's just on throughout work.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. Dave Clayton is working for me tonight, so he's supposed to be working, and he's on here. So
Colt morale right now is dead, though. Yeah, I mean, the Colts are a mess.
You know, Nick is just playing it out so they didn't have to pay Matt Ryan the incentives. That's all.
Considering my fantasy football team shot a dud.
Yeah, so did mine, Ken. I got beat by this knucklehead down here.
Ask Ken who he got beat by. Who
See
did
this
Ken get?
knucklehead right here? That's who I got beat by.
Who did Ken get beat by?
You too?
I won mine this week in my dad's league.
Yeah.
So now there's going to be. Hold on, I gotta count this real quick. Hold on.
I scored 270 last week. I scored 170 this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
One,
So
2,
my fantasy championships are at the cost of Ken and at the cost of my father.
Nice.
But I am on my way to the championship against hopefully Cat. But I don't know who won the other game in my other league.
Well, I was telling your dad last week. My dad's league goes all 18 weeks. We play straight through the season, no playoffs or nothing. And after this week, there's now going to be 4 teams tied at 9 and 7. Go head to head. That's crazy. I mean,
that is crazy.
I have had
I've ever seen it.
I play in my dad's league for money. I have had the worst luck in that league. Every year, all of my players get hurt. Every year. This year, I just caught fire at the end.
And that's what you need. You want that fire brewing. So.
Yeah, his team mascot was an ambulance driver.
Constellation games are a trend for me this year. No luck at all. Fantasy football is a crapshoot. You get lucky some years, and then some years you drop out. Like
agreed.
The one year in my dad's league, I went 15-2. The following year, I dropped to 4-13. So.
Yep.
Thanks, Ken. You had the best record in the league. Good job, bud.
Does he get anything for the best record or no?
No.
Just a free league.
Just a Laurel and Hardy handshake.
So.
There's a movie reference for you.
What? Say again?
A Laurel and Hardy handshake.
Okay, I don't know that movie.
Blazing Saddles.
Ah, good old Mel Brooks. But no, thanks everyone again for popping in. Ron, Jason, thanks for being part of it tonight.
Thanks for having me, John. I had fun.
Anytime,
thanks, guys. Thanks, Jay.
Let me know when you guys are back on. I mean, I don't know about Jason being back on in the near future. Maybe we'll see. I'll be back on tomorrow night with a girl that popped in here for a brief second, Morgan. She has a fun game plan for tomorrow night for an entertainment show. And it's called Wrongfully Explained Movies. So if you want to check that out, we'll be live about 8:30 tomorrow night for that too. So
yeah, Monday nights I work on Monday nights. I took off tonight, but Monday nights I work. So if you ever decide to have a sports talk on the second half of the week, you will see me there.
We'll figure something out, I promise.
Alrighty.
But as always, I always say good night and thanks for tuning in.
Thanks,
and
everybody.
The next one.
Thank you, everyone.
We'll see you.
For that, sorry. What were you saying, Ron? Sorry, I cut you off.
I just said see you soon.
Okay. Good night.